The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Let's finally get into this main event, fellas. For the UFC Featherweight Championship, we had Ilia Topuria defeating Alexander the Great Volkanovski KO. So Topuria was mixing it a lot in the first round. He's mixing it up with the leg kicks and throwing those 1-2 combos. And I say Volk was able to pick it up with like the last 2 minutes of the round. I gave the round to Topuria, but the judges didn't agree with me. Yeah, I guess if you look at the significant strikes, they say Volk outlanded them, but I watched it at round twice, and I don't know. I think I still maybe had Topuria edging him out, but what do I know? Round two, that's when things started to pick up. Topuria was the one moving forward, but Volk was using that jab and those leg kicks to kind of keep him honest and fend him off somewhat. And he did that well for the first 3.5 minutes until he didn't. Topuria caught him with that right hook and a few punches before that, but the right hook was the one that caught him, and he was able to make Volkanovski go night-night. And we have a new featherweight champion representing Georgia and Spain. What do y'all think about this fight? I'll start off with you, Admire.
It was good. I mean, it was good all the way through. They both had their moments and stuff. I feel like for the finish of it, it really reminded me of the last fight that Volkanovski had and got knocked out. It's kind of like that right kind of snuck around and came out of nowhere, just like that head kick did when he got knocked out last. This one, it started with the left, but I think the one that was a right that came around his arm is the one that really did the most damage. I think he just got caught again. Like, I don't know if it's his peripheral isn't there anymore or he's losing it, but it's not like he was just getting outclassed all the way around. He just got caught again.
Yeah. Steve?
Yeah, I think this is a fight to where he fought not just a striker, a very solid boxer. And for Volk's size, I was looking at both of the fighters, and I see Ila, he has a bigger frame size than Volk, so that definitely helped him. And I saw Volk's still sturdiness of his skills, flicking him off with the jab and using those legs kicks. But the previous fight with Islam and his knockout, and then seeing this knockout, I don't think he can stand for what his height he was anymore, because this was an actual devastating knockout. And figuring the Volk we know who he is, we figured he would do at least come back or do a more movement to utilize his wrestling, to which obviously I think he would have did it in the first round or some parts in the seconds if he could. I think Volk has been figured out through the times as he's had to defend his belt as champion, and I think maybe it's his time. And plus, he's getting older.
Yeah, you definitely make some good points. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They have a statistic saying that I think the percentage of fighters that win in title fights, 35 and up, it's low. It's like in the 10 to 15%.
Oh, it's lower than that. They showed it on the TV during the fight that fighters over 35 are 2 and 20 in title fights. So it's like, what is that? 10%, that they have a 10% chance of winning. Like, it's not good at all.
I saw that statistic too, and then I was thinking about it. Is that true though? Because I thought of more than 2 off the top of my head. Maybe it's over a certain year. Didn't Silva win some fights past 35? Bisbing, didn't he win the belt past 35? Glover
I'm sure.
Teixeira,
I'm sure GSP when he beat Bisbing was over 35.
him.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that too. I was
Randy
like,
Couture.
yeah, Randy Couture. I'm sure. I'm pretty sure Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell were over 35.
I don't know about those guys. They age faster than what we remember. They were a little younger, but all the other guys. But I saw the statistic. That's why I brought it up, because I saw the statistic you're talking about, like only like 2 or something like that. But maybe is it past a certain year or something? But either way, the percentage of guys 35 and up is not high. So y'all think that age just caught up with Volkanovski, or do y'all think he just didn't take enough time in between the Makachev fight?
I don't know. I mean, he still looked good out there, and I mean, I'll stand by it. I think that he just got hit with something he didn't see coming. But the why didn't he see it coming is the thing. It could be like Steve said. It could be that people have figured him out. I personally think he's kind of fell in love with the knockout and the stand-up and hasn't utilized his wrestling as much as he should. I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I don't think he should give up yet. I think he should, even though it's a knockout, he's been at the top for a while. He did the UFC a favor stepping in and, getting knocked out last time. I think he should get a rematch. And then we decide where he goes from there.
I'm gonna put that thought that you just said on pause, but I'm gonna go to Steve. You think he just got old, or he should have just took more time off in between those Makachev fights?
I think definitely both. I think he should have took time off, but think he's having pride to try to not hold up the featherweight division. I think he tried to speed up. Plus, going to these press conferences, which is nothing wrong, just embracing the shits and giggles of people, but going to the press conference as an old man. I mean, shit, he said it himself.
That didn't age well.
No, I didn't. No, Eli came in there serious.
But what about that press conference when he came in as an old man? You gonna add on to that, Steve?
Oh yeah, I came in there in the press conference was embracing the old man energy, and he got knocked out like an old man. I mean, Sarah was pretty damn sharp, and not saying Volk looked bad, but it's like especially in round 2, and this is a championship fight. I mean, you always look good until in round 2 you get knocked out, and it's like, well, was he playing with you? I mean, it was inevitable because Volk looked good, but I mean, was that really how good he was? I mean, he just got knocked out, so it's like we're sitting here questioning now, is he's good enough? So, and if he would have won, we wouldn't be talking about it, and he would have got that loss back from Islam. But like you said earlier, those 2 back-to-back, and this one, he got knocked out cold. So I don't see him coming back anytime soon good.
So going back to your thought, Admire, you were saying that you think he should get an immediate rematch. I think he deserves an immediate rematch, but I don't think that he should take an immediate rematch, because I don't know if I see it going down any differently. I think, like I said, he's probably the greatest featherweight UFC history. But if you jump back in an immediate rematch, you're going against a young lion like Topuria. The results may stay the same. So you definitely have pride, of course. But if I were him, I might want to take a warm-up match in between them. Take like somebody in the top 5 just in case, because that's rough, man. Fighting at that high level for so long. I definitely think he deserves it. And of course, the UFC will probably hang that over him, dangle that carrot, so to speak, above his head to take that immediate rematch. But if you're him, you don't think he should probably maybe take a year off? It's maybe an immediate rematch for him, but maybe have Topuria face the guy in between?
Yeah, he probably needs a good break. I don't want to take anything from Topuria. He fought a great fight and looked amazing. I mean, the way he strung together that last sequence with the precision, and he was feisty going in after it. I think Topuria is going to be at the top for a while, man. For Volkanovski, I think he should take the year off and just kind of let the division kind of shake out a little bit. There's a lot of fights booked for those guys in the featherweight. Kind of see who lands where. He's beat most of them already, so a lot of them you don't really want to see the run back. I think he's fought Max Holloway 2-3 times. I know he's fought Rodriguez. He's fought Ortega. Give a chance for some guys to move up there in the top 5 and fight them once they get into the top 5. And I want him to get the immediate rematch, but I don't. I think he needs to get confidence back with a win and kind of figure out where he stands. So maybe somebody, give Josh Emmett a chance to move up in the top 5. And then if he pulls off a win, fight Josh Emmett.
I agree with that. Before we get into Topuria's projection, I mean, it's kind of an end of an era. Volkanovski, long-term champion. So it's probably be an easy question to answer. Is he, I guess, the consensus vote of the featherweight division, hands down? The only person that you could maybe throw in there is a Jose Aldo. So y'all think Volkanovski is the go to the division?
I do. Personally, I think he is. But, I mean, just from what I've seen from Topuria, I think he has a chance of doing it. I know it's real early. He just got the belt, but
way too early.
but from what I'm not going to call him the GOAT now, but I think he has the makings of what it takes to become.
Yeah. Steve, what do you think? You think Volkanovski is the go to the featherweight? Like I said, the only person you could maybe throw in there is Jose Aldo.
Yeah, I mean his credentials speak it. Jose Aldo, he has the shock factor, the coolness, the not the double knees, flying knees and stuff like that. And Jose Aldo's has credentials too, but Volkanovski just got from pure wins. I mean, you can't deny it. But as far as a stylistic one, which not saying that Volkanovski didn't pull off beautiful wins, but this isn't a stylistic champion to me. And I think it's about time and for ready to see which Tapera looks is gonna look like a champion that has highlights, like Israel Adesanya. A few of these champions that have highlight wins. Alex Pereira, I think Tapera is definitely one of those to get these knockouts for the division he's in.
I think if my calculation is right, I think Aldo defended his 9 times and Volkanovski defended 6.
Yeah. And I was about to say, I think we still got to see what Volkanovski does after this before we throw out our opinions completely on that topic. Because what I think hurt Aldo was that after he lost the belt, he kind of lingered around and took some L's after that, and then he went down to bantamweight and took some L's there. I think we have recency, bias as far as like we saw the L's that he was taking after his initial run. But if you like Admire was saying, if you go back and look at it, Aldo went on a hell of a run. And me personally, stylistically, I was a fan of Aldo more so than Volkanovski, but you can't sneeze at what either one of those guys did in the octagon. And then, like, you still got to put in the factor the head-to-head. I mean, Volkanovski beat Aldo, even though it's pretty much Aldo past his prime. Even though Aldo what, he was like 33 at the time. If you think about it in any other circumstances, he's still a young guy, but took a lot of wear and tear in that cage. Beat Holloway 3 times, beat Ortega, beat Korean Zombie, beat Yair Rodriguez in between those Makachev fights. So that's a pretty sturdy resume. So I mean, like when I met Steve, like Steve, you could like vouch for this. I was never like a huge fan of Volkanovski. Like his style was like, I was never really a fan of his style. He was one of those guys that does everything well, but never had anything really flashy. Like he would finish guys by like TKO, but like nothing really jumped off the pages for me. But like once he beat Holloway 3 times, like I can't deny how great this guy was. And so my hat goes off to him. But looking at Topuria, like Admire said, I mean, I like his style a lot better than Volkanovski. He's a one-punch knockout type of guy, and he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. So I'll ask y'all this. Y'all think there's a chance for him to reach for that brass ring, so to speak, and maybe be a face of the UFC in the future?
I think so. I think he has all the tools to do it. You know, like you mentioned, he's got a black belt, but all we seen the other night was this crisp boxing and striking. So that tells me that, I mean, he's not a one-trick pony, that he can handle himself anywhere that the fight goes, and he can be the one to dictate it. So I think that he's going to be around for a while, and I think that the UFC is going to put a lot behind him.
I mean, like you said, that Chris Boskin in a few fights ago, this was late 2022, you got a arm triangle over Bryce Mitchell, so you know the grappling is there. What are your thoughts, Steve? You think he could be the face of the company or one of them in the future?
As far as who?
Ilya Topuria.
Definitely, if he keeps on winning, he's, from what I remember, he's a good spokesperson too on the mic, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's like trilingual, or I know he speaks multiple languages.
Definitely. This I think people just still, I think probably have to wrap their heads around this wins, because I think even in the tabloids, people just doubted him and just thought he was a youngster coming up, not respecting a veteran. And I think once people grasp and see, like, okay, man, he just proved a point. I think I definitely see him being a face of UFC, and especially if he starts putting these highlights behind him too, and getting a little resume.
Yeah, the only thing is some people are still weird about the lower weight divisions as far as like marketability. Of course, Conor was able to break that mold, and then even another sport, Floyd was. But if you're not bigger, sometimes you can't draw as many eyes as some of the higher weight classes. But I mean, internationally, definitely, I think he could push for it, be maybe not the face of the UFC, but one of them, like a top 3 go-to guy when you want to sell a big fight, if they market him well. I mean, for some reason, we haven't really seen a fighter break that mold of going in the mainstream of based on just your fight prowess since GSP and Silva. I don't know why. Is it a UFC thing, or is it our generation short attention span type things? Because it's a lot of fighters where they should probably be bigger stars of what they are based on how good they are fighting. But I think definitely this is UFC's fault a little bit, the way they market it. All the fighters look the same, and they kind of put a muzzle, unless you're Sean Strickland, can say whatever you want, but I feel like they put a muzzle on a lot of what the fighters could do and whatnot. But I don't know, like, y'all think we might still see the day where we see a fighter blow up as like a mainstream individual based on just the fighting style? But like I said, we haven't really seen it since like GSP and Silva.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're 100% correct. Like a lot of these fighters that we know that are great fighters fly under the mainstream radar. So, like we're talking about Taporia, but if you talk about Makachev, you know, or Kazmat, or kind of any of the Dagestani fighters, we know they're all top fighters, but they're not a household name, or they're not going to sell the average person a pay-per-view, even though they're all in the pound for pound talks, but the loud guys are the ones that have the face. The Sean O'Malley's, Sean Strickland, Conor McGregor is another one. Conor McGregor hasn't fought in how many years, hasn't won a fight in how many years, but could come in right now and sell over 1 million pay-per-views and is a household name and doesn't have half the skills as a lot of these guys. So I would like to see it back to that. GSP, my favorite fighter of all time, just because he was humble and well-versed in every skill set that he had. I like seeing fighters like that. I don't need the hype to sell a fight.
Even with like a John Jones before, like he kind of switched it up later on and was a little bit more boisterous, but when he like really kind of blew up, he was basically just known for his fighting before he started getting into trouble and all that. And then, like, I guess he was probably like the last person, but a little bit before him, Sylvan, like you said, GSP. I don't know, man. You'd like to see it go back to that, but I don't know. Go ahead.
What I don't like though is when fighters feel like they have to become that to sell fights. Like perfect example is DC. When he was always a quiet, humble guy coming up through the other promotion when he first got in the UFC, but then he just got into his own head that he should be a shit talker and all that. And it was cringy at best. Like a fighter shouldn't have to put on a show and be a loudmouth and talk shit to get the views or the attention or the push.
Yeah, he shouldn't, but I feel like that's just the times that we're in. I don't know. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah. As far as like the promotion of a fighter.
No, we're just saying, like, are the days of fighters crossing over into like the mainstream media over? Because we hadn't really seen it since like the GSP, Silva, and then even maybe the John Jones era when he first started really getting going.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. Sort of like what they say about boxing. I mean, back in those days, and maybe the divisions weren't so deep, but the fighters fought the best fighters. And sort of now you kind of have a choice of fighters choosing kind of if they want to take a fight up in ranks or not, or fighters being protected by the industry. Like some say, Sean O'Malley did, and other fighters. I think it definitely the old school days are over. Nothing like the old school days, because it's I think we even talked about it before, how they got all these fighters scattered out, and how I think we even talked about how they could even cut down the roster so we can siphon a little bit about to get these best fighters on there instead of had them spread across. I definitely think it's different from those old days, and to get a household name, because I mean, if you have a more parameter, small density of fighters, you're more able to see highlights. Fighters got famous like Vitor Belfort and Anderson Silva. You can get famous off a highlight of like, oh my God, I haven't seen that before. When's the last time we seen one of those? A significant one I remember is Joaquin Buckley, that spinning karate back kick on I can't even know his name, but you can get famous off that. I mean, you don't even see that too much. And maybe because there's straight up practitioners I guess there's a more mixture of now, but I mean, you figure that you maybe see more stuff, but I don't know. But definitely it's different. The module of back in the day and today.
Yeah, I mean, I think the days of fighters getting over, so to speak, based just purely based off their fighting is over. But I would like to see a combination of both, though. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. People able to talk people into the building and getting over off of just talking like a McGregor and the mold of McGregor, but he actually did fight a little bit before he got rich to actually back it up. And I just think it'd be good for the landscape of MMA to have a combination of both. Have fighters being able to sell just off their fighting, but then have the guys that'll talk you into the building and are, more boisterous with the microphone.
Yeah, I mean, because the UFC is going to push the louder fighters with more controversy around them, just like Sean Strickland fighting DDP in the crowd. They use that to push the fight. They use McGregor attacking the bus to push the fight. If you got a guy like Topuria who's very well mannered and not, crazy like that, they don't have the highlights to put in the promos to put on TV. So, they kind of eat it up.
Yeah, definitely. And remember with Conor and Habib, they swore what he did against him with the dollies and stuff was despicable, but then they ended up putting in the promo to sell the fight. Ended up selling 2.4 million, highest pay-per-view bought in the history of the company. But I'm looking at the chart right now, and pretty much validate what we've been talking about. The last, because they only got 40 fights on there. I'm looking at the history of like the pay-per-views and buys, and I sorted it in chronologically. And the last fight they have on here is from 2021, and that was the Poirier McGregor fight, and that sold 1.8 million, and that was all the way back in July of 2021. So I don't know, like maybe they're just valuing that ESPN contract, and they know they're going to get paid regardless, and whatever they sell with the pay-per-views are icing on the cake, which I think is a terrible business model to go by. But what I know, I'm not in the board, so maybe they found their sweet spot. But even with this list, Blachowicz and Adesanya, like that, they pulled a decent number. They had 800 pay-per-view buys. That's pretty good. But the Usman and Covington fights, both the 1 and 2 had 700,000 pay-per-view buys. So clearly McGregor's still a needle mover. Him and the Cowboy fight, which they didn't really talk trash back and forth. That's sold 1.3. So I don't know. For some reason, McGregor still moves the needle as far as buys. But yeah, I mean, as far as Topuria goes, like he's got the tools to become a star. It's just, I think it's UFC's job to like try to push him, like have him go on First Take and talk nonsense with Stephen A. Smith. Y'all are with ESPN. I feel like they don't take advantage of that enough, and have them on I don't know what's the ABC morning show, whatever they have, Good Day America or whatever.
Something like that.
Yeah, something that anybody over the age of 40 doesn't really watch. I mean, under the age of 40 doesn't really watch. But have like our parents' generation, expose them to those people, and chip away at it, hit all the demographics. But what do I know? Or I'd be hired by the UFC. But yeah, Topuria, I think he might be the next guy up, but it's no telling. Anything can happen in MMA. So, what do y'all think they match him up with in the immediate future as far as him defending that title?
Man, we got Max Holloway there at number 2, but
I mean, this would be the moment where you pull a trigger because they weren't going to match him up against Volkanovski, and he's like I don't want to disrespect him and call him a gatekeeper, but he's almost been regulated by default to like the ultimate gatekeeper just because he lost to Volkanovski so many times. But do you pull a trigger on him and Holloway? You think that should happen, Amir?
If If Holloway beats Gaethje for the BMF title, then I say okay. But if Holloway loses this one, I don't know, man. I think it might be time. I don't know. He can still hang, but then he really gets that gatekeeper status. There's really not a lot left that I want to see up there. That's why I was kind of saying Volkanovski should let the featherweight division kind of shake out, let some other people get some movement, because I don't know that I want to see Topuria fight Rodriguez, Ortega, Evlov. I don't know.
I mean, he hasn't faced those guys yet, so why not run it with all of those guys?
Just because those guys have kind of lost to the other ones up top. I know MMA math don't work, but I don't see any of the guys I named, those three, Rodriguez, Ortega, Evlov. I don't see them bringing anything to the Topuria fight that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, they definitely got options. I don't know, Steve. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like those fighters, like you said, lost to each other or lost very recently to even earn a title shot, which usually, this ain't heavyweight or the women's division where there's not too many to circulate. And what, early 2000s, not early 2000s, late 2000s. And like I said, everybody's fought everybody. And it seems like like you said,
everybody's fought everybody, but Superior still hasn't fought a lot of those guys that have been fighting each other. So
it seems like I wouldn't want them to be pushed up like have 2 or 3 fights where Tapera had how many streak a fight to get up there, and others before him had to get a streak. And it just wouldn't seem right. These other fighters, although opportunity is opportunity, some of these fighters don't even fight consistent enough. Brian Ortega, I mean, he's been sitting out for a long time. I would say one of the few people is Max Holloway, but he's got a fight up, and it's he had to be the back burner, crazy enough, because the person that beat him 2-3 times, you're just forced to do that. So I think I think we have to sit back and watch these fights and see what happens.
Wouldn't it be crazy if Gaethje got injured and they put in Topuria against Holloway at 300?
Is that what those two fighting at?
Yeah, they're doing the BMF fight, right?
Yeah, you're right. That would be crazy. I mean, I don't think he took much damage. That'd be a pretty quick turnaround. I mean, as far as promoting, that would be pretty silly of him. Just what if Holloway beats him? But yeah, knowing Dana White, I could see them maybe trying to rush him back for that, just because he's pretty young and pretty fresh off of that win. I mean, I think you got to kind of build up towards that though. But I wouldn't be surprised if Holloway gets in there next. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. If he gets a win against Gaethje, I mean, they're doing it for the imaginary belt, the BMF belt. But I mean, if Holloway beats Gaethje, which is a lightweight that's highly ranked, I think Holloway deservingly would get to go against Topuria.
Yeah, but even if he loses, though, it's in the lightweight division. So can you penalize him for losing at a higher division like that?
I don't know. I don't know if you can. I mean, because it is a higher division, but then you go back to what UFC worries about the most, the marketing. Can they market Holloway getting a title shot after coming off of a loss?
Yeah, sure you can. They can do whatever they want. I mean, these rankings are good and like symbolic, but we've seen a lot of times where they gave Jorge Masvidal a immediate rematch and he lost against Usman. It doesn't really make sense. So they do what they want, but like you said, the optics of it probably wouldn't look good if they let him fight for the title after losing. But I don't know what the options would be at this point. Because, like I said, they don't need to rush Volk back in there, man. He needs to take, I think, a year minimum off. But I mean, he says like with his mental health that he likes to stay active, but I mean, your physical health is going to deteriorate if you keep hopping back in there sooner. So I don't know. They have not problems, but like it's good problems trying to figure out who to put Superior in there next. But we'll keep our eyes out on what happens. But the featherweight division, has a bright future. Now they got this young blood with the belt. So I'm excited to see what Superior does next. Thank you for checking out this Haymaker Combat Sports segment. This full episode can be found on the Haymaker Combat Sports YouTube page and in audio form on all major podcast platforms. Until next time.